Hi everyone. Today I want to spend a few minutes and talk about affordability. And not just affordability, but where today can someone in the Austin area get the biggest bang for the buck. I used to think the question around affordability was simply, could somebody buy a piece of property or not in a certain area? In other words, did they have the budget? But what I'm seeing this year, not only with my clients, but with other friends and postings on Facebook, is that they may have the money to buy a piece of property in Austin, and they are choosing to go into another community because they get more for their money. I've seen that in their comments. I've heard it directly from them. So to me, that's the other piece of affordability, is where can I get the most for my money? So I want to answer that question for you today, looking at the top 12 communities in the Austin area, from the least affordable to the most affordable, and where I believe you can get the best bang for your buck. And I want to come to that conclusion showing you a few maps that I found interesting, and more importantly, using data from our market today. Are you ready? Okay, I'm going to start with an article that came in this publication. It's called Tierra Grande. This comes from the Texas Real Estate Center at Texas A&M University. Their key article this week was on Austin's affordability, and these two maps I find really interesting. So I'm going to start with the one here on the left. I hope it's not backwards on this video. It could be, so bear with me. I used a Sharpie and drew a really sharp line down I-35. This is 2011, looking at Austin's affordability. Red means it's incredibly unaffordable. Yellow means moderately unaffordable. Green means it's still affordable. And affordable was three times the median monthly income to buy a house. If you make $60,000 a year as a family, then you could afford a $180,000 house. That would be affordable. You start to get above that number, it goes to moderately unaffordable, between 3 or 4 times your income, and anything 4 times or over, way unaffordable. So if you look at Austin in 2011, here's the west side. This is the core of town. You can see going all the way out west, very unaffordable in the core, but as you start to go northwest and southwest, you can still find pockets of affordability. The whole east side is still considered mostly affordable. Now let's move over to 2015, and this is 2 years ago, not even today. Now look at I-35. You've got I-35 here. Everything west is starting to turn yellow, and almost the entire core is red. And more importantly, now start looking at the east side. Look, you've got moderately unaffordable now, even going up and down the east side of Austin. Pretty interesting, right? Imagine what 2017 looks like. So what I wanted to look at is, okay, that gives us the macro trend of what's happening in Austin. We knew things are going more and more unaffordable for the core of our market. But the question still becomes this: so where can you buy if you have a moderate income and you want to look for a piece of property? Where can I get the biggest bang for the buck? So I ran a study this morning. And basically what I did is say, okay, I'm going to come up with a number that I believe is a moderately affordable house, and I want to look city by city, based on their inventory, what percentage of that inventory is being sold at $250,000 or less. So my number is $250,000. So what I did this morning is I wanted to pull market data from right now and look at where and how I can identify the communities, the 12 largest communities in our Austin area, where I can identify the biggest bang for your buck. And here's the numbers that I used. Number one, I wanted to look at the actual amount of inventory on the market today. I then wanted to look at how many properties in that inventory are listed for $250,000 or less today, and then calculate what percentage of that inventory is in that lower price range, $250,000 or less. So if a buyer came to me today and said, look, I've got a budget of $250,000, I want to know where can I find the most properties in my price range that will help me get the biggest bang for the buck. Okay, so out of 12 properties, with number 12 on the list being the most expensive, and number 1 being on the list having the most inventory at $250,000 or less, Austin came in at number 10. I'm starting with Austin because it's the core of our market. So today, this morning, Austin had 2,922 homes listed for sale. How many out of 2,922 do you believe were listed for $250,000 or less. I'll give you a few seconds. Little Jeopardy music. Okay, so out of 2,922 homes, only 141 of them are listed at $250,000 or less, which means only 4.8% of Austin proper has homes for $250,000 or less. And more importantly, it's where those homes are listed that I also find interesting. And if you remember the maps, it kind of tells you the story. They start in North Austin. They work their way around to the northeast, the east side out by 183 and 130. They come back down into southeast Austin and then south of Ben White. It's basically a crescent moon, north, east, and south around Austin. If you look in the core of the city, there's almost no inventory for $250,000 or less, and that carries out all the way west, all the way out into the lakes. So if that's your budget, that tells you if you want to stay in the city limits of Austin, you're going to be living north, northeast, east, southeast, or far south Austin. Okay, so if Austin is number 10 on the list, what's the most unaffordable community in our metro area? What do you think? So number 1 on the list, or number 12 ranked in terms of affordability, is Lakeway. Now that may not come as a surprise if you've been out to 620 and Lakeway. Everything out there is higher end inventory. You have beautiful views, good schools. It's been that way for a while. Right now, Lakeway has 127 listings. 0 are $250,000 or less. So we're probably not going to go out to Lakeway. Number 2 on the list may surprise you. So coming in, the second most unaffordable community in our metro is Dripping Springs. Now, if you've been out to Dripping recently, you may understand this story, but if you haven't been there in a while, that may surprise you. The growth in Dripping is exploding. Dripping Springs is building a number of master plan communities, higher end price point inventory, and of course, you still get hill country views and the schools are really great. So that's really telling the story of Dripping Springs. Right now, 175 properties listed in Dripping Springs right now, only 3 are $250,000 or less. That's only 1.7% of their inventory at $250,000 or below. I mentioned Austin was number 10 on the list. So coming in at number 9 is Georgetown. So Georgetown has 673 listings, only 55 are $250,000 or less. This is Georgetown, pretty far out, or at least it used to feel that way. But again, Georgetown has a lot of development, a lot of new communities coming there, and of course it's a very attractive place to live. So about 8% of Georgetown's inventory is in that $250,000 or less price point. Number 8 on the list, 7 and 6 are Cedar Park, Leander, and Liberty Hill. Now we've seen the growth over the last 20 years up that northwest corridor. So Cedar Park, Leander, Liberty Hill, from least affordable to most affordable going out that direction. Cedar Park, about 10.5% of their inventory is $250,000 or less. Leander, 12.2%, and Liberty Hill, 12.8%. Now Liberty Hill surprises me. That is a long way out if you are commuting into the core of our market. But the properties out there, you can get new properties, master plan communities, good school district, and if you're only commuting into the northwest part of our market, then it makes sense. But Liberty Hill is still not in the top 5 of affordability. Pretty interesting, I think. Okay, so now we're getting into the top 5 of most affordable. The best bang for your buck, especially if you're looking at homes $250,000 or less. Coming in at number 5 is Round Rock. So Round Rock has 648 homes for list. 92% of them are $250,000 or less. That's about 14% of their inventory. Round Rock's a big community, and a lot of those homes have been there for a while. They're competing with a lot of newer development in the suburbs that surround Round Rock. So you can still find good affordable homes in Round Rock. But that covers every community west and north. So where are the most affordable areas of our market? Remember the maps, east and south. So here come the top 4 most affordable communities. Number 4 is Pflugerville. I've spent a lot of time in Pflugerville this summer. Pflugerville has 398 listings. 86 of them are $250,000 or less. And there are some good quality inventory homes in Pflugerville at that price point. That's about 21.6% of their inventory. About every 5 houses, 1 out of every 5 is in that price point. Number 3 on the list, Bastrop. A lot of growth in Bastrop, and yet it's still very affordable. You've got 106 properties listed, 36 of them 250 or less. That's 33, almost 34% of their inventory. 1 out of every 3 homes in Bastrop. Number 2 and number 1. And if you live in these communities, you know how much there's growth in these areas and the biggest bang for the buck. Number 2, Buda, and number 1, Kyle. So Buda, 224 homes listed, 69 of them $250,000 or less. That's about 30% of their inventory. And Kyle, 230 homes, 153 of them in that price point, 66.5% of their inventory, $250,000 or less. So if that's your budget, or you're looking for homes in that price range, going south or going east is where you're going to be going. Pflugerville, Bastrop, Buda, Kyle, those are the markets for you. Was this helpful? I hope so. I hope you found it interesting, and more importantly, I wanted to show you maps and data to show you why I believe these are the communities where you can get the biggest bang for your buck. I'd love the opportunity to work with you. If you know anyone looking to buy or sell real estate this summer or this fall, I'd be honored for your referral. Most importantly, I want to work with you and be your Austin real estate resource.